Yo, what's up, y'all? It's your girl Wande. Welcome to another episode of the Winner's Circle. You know, where we keep it lit or whatever. And so it's time for another episode.
Winner's
Circle
10. Yeah, 10. We made it far, y'all.
Yo,
so
I'm
after this, I need more than 2 hands. I'm proud of us. You know what I'm saying? 10.
Mm-hmm.
We made it. Big 10. I'm stoked.
Wait, so like, is this the end of like the season?
Nah,
or
we can't.
like,
No. No. We need to have a longer than 10 episode season. I feel like Tim Ross will do 6 episodes and then be like,
10 weeks is a long series. I'm just saying, 10 weeks.
I mean,
your life can change in 10 weeks.
My thing is, if I'm watching Netflix, most seasons are about 10 to
yeah, but this isn't TV. I feel like when it comes
to... That's why I'm asking, because I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think so. I feel like the only person who has short podcast seasons is Tim Ross. That man will do like 6 or 7 episodes and then be like, well, next time on season 5. I'm like, sir, you started podcasting 5 months ago. How you already on season 5?
So like, what would the norm be? Like 20?
It depends.
Producer Mia says 20.
20?
Okay,
okay, so we're going to have a guest season. And then
so we halfway.
Okay, yeah, we lit.
That's great. Wow, I feel accomplished. Shout out to the Lord, man.
Yeah. So on top of us being lit and getting these episodes accomplished, our DMs have been pretty lit too. Okay.
Shout out to us DMs popping.
Yeah. So we had a little spicy
Single
one.
men
Come
who
through.
love the Lord, DM me.
So you want DMs now?
Only for
last episode.
No, because folks be DMing me trying to either be my best friend or wanting me to manage them, and I don't manage people anymore. Like, unless your name is Wande, it's not happening. The Lord got to speak to me. But people will DM me asking me for business advice or weird help. Or it's like they want to like, sis, I just relate to you so much, which I'm grateful for. I am grateful for. But hey, if you a brother in Christ who's not weird and above the age of 29, holla at your girl. If you 40 on Instagram, don't DM me though.
Insert upward sponsorship.
Yeah,
pay
upward.
For the episode.
If you want to pay for this episode, but I'm not saying anything else after that.
We can cut that out.
We don't have to cut that out. I'm just saying, because only they know what that is. So,
yeah. All right, y'all. So here goes the DM that we got. Hey, Winner's Circle. I've been enjoying the podcast, and I really love when y'all talk about relationships. I'm hoping.
Wow! And I was literally telling single men.
Yo,
that's why.
Just say the synergy be real.
It's real.
Okay, go ahead.
Kissy. I'm hoping you can help me out with my own situation. I've been talking to this guy for 3 months. It's a long time. And now I realize something. He speaks so negatively about his mom. He always talks about how he doesn't like being around her. He rolls his eyes every time she calls, and he's even slipped up and called her out her name. Ooh. I haven't met his mom yet, but I do know that he's had a rough childhood and says that his mom played a part in it. My best friend told me to be cautious around him, but I think she's overreacting. Maybe he has a right to be upset at his mom. My question to you is, do you think my boyfriend's behavior to his mom is something I should be worried about? I'm curious to know what you all think.
Let me ask you a question real quick. Do we know if he's a holy hot boy or no?
Because that definitely makes a difference.
A little bit, yeah.
Let's assume he's holy.
Okay, we assuming he's holy?
Yeah.
That ain't right.
See, the calling out your name, but everything else, it's an interesting dynamic of like how you grew up, because it might be unresolved trauma though.
Right. I will say that it could be a sign of immaturity. I don't necessarily want to say it's anything like too crazy because I grew up with like really rough issues with my dad. I still don't have like a healthy relationship with him, to be honest. I have boundaries in place that make it easier for me to function within our relationship. But it's never been, like, I've had a lot of trauma with my father. I'm not saying cut your mom off. My dad is still in my life. We still communicate, especially when it comes to family gatherings. But I had to put a boundary in place with my father.
Yeah.
But and your boyfriend may need a place to vent. Maybe he hasn't really had anybody to talk to it about. I would encourage him to get those feelings out and not just the negative ones. But, you know, probably go to therapy. I know it's expensive, but, like, there's programs to help you afford it. I don't want to judge bro because I'm somebody who's dealt with really hard familial relationships. But I would say don't be so quick to judge him that this is like, it could be a red flag. I'm not saying it's not. It could be. but it doesn't necessarily mean that it is.
Yeah.
It may mean that he doesn't know how to process his feelings around it. And depending on his age, again, I'm in my 30s, so I was not this mature when I was going through the thick of my 20s, really realizing how hurt and damaged I was by my father. Do you know what I'm saying? So
I have a interesting follow-up question to that. So also a thing of like, do y'all think this is a red flag or not? But if you're dating someone or in the talking phase with someone and you find out that they have severe trauma with their parents, and just being aware of, like, as we get older, we realize how similar we kind of are to our parents. Mm-hmm. Does that appear as a red flag to you to be conscious of, that they could potentially
I can directly answer
that
this
life?
question.
Yeah.
Because that is actually our scenario. My boyfriend does have a little bit of unresolved trauma with his father, and he is a lot like his father, just in the sense of like how they both work, how they both have the insight of what it means to provide and things like that. It was hard for him to have his father transition to being a pastor in the middle of his life, as he was becoming like a young adult and everything like that, and having your dad, having to share your father at that point in his life and everything like that. So there's like a little bit of unresolved trauma there regarding that. And for me, though, for us in this scenario, because we communicate about the trauma and I help him recognize certain triggers and things of that nature, there are things that we work through together. But as a man, he has to be willing to be vulnerable, which a lot of men have a little bit of struggle with, you know what I mean? But he has to be willing to be vulnerable to explore that, so that when he is in a relationship, those traumas are not negatively impacting or affecting what's going on, even if he's not in a position where he can get professional help yet. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm saying? But if you're at least open with your partner and allowing them to be in and exploring that, and you guys are working through things, you know, it's not the end of the world. You know what I'm saying? Like, because there's even times where me and him get into disagreements, and we literally have to break everything down piece by piece to get to the root of it. Because sometimes either some of my unresolved trauma, because I have some too, will get in the way of, you know, how we communicate and how we are resolving certain issues and things like that. And same for him. So if we don't talk things out, if we don't take the opportunity to be open, if we don't shut out each other from each other and things of that nature, then yes, it's gonna turn into a red flag that will continue to be traumatic in your relationship.
So actually, speaking of red flags, we even had some more questions come in.
Oh, fire.
And so here we go. We asked our users, our followers, our wonderful Winner Circle homies, what are your red flags?
Oh, we literally asked people what their red flags are?
Yeah.
Shout out to producer Mia.
Shout out to producer Mia, man.
She be working.
You my dog.
She be working.
My dog.
And so shout out to the interaction too. So we have Christina from Miami, Florida. Here are her red flags: inconsistency, a lack of consideration, and if he talks over me.
That's wild, because those are like mine.
Yeah. Those are good.
A lack of consistency and and people who are inconsiderate.
Yeah.
That's like,
it's a consideration for me.
Yes.
Yeah. Then we have came in from Stockbridge, Georgia, lying and overly suspicious of everything you do.
Yeah, that's screaming I got trust issues.
Facts. We have interesting name, Altovis from Baltimore.
How's it spelled?
From Baltimore.
Baltimore. You gotta say it right. Baltimore. I'm from Jersey. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
First and foremost, I live there currently.
Baltimore.
So I got to rep right.
Baltimore.
No, we don't say the T.
Okay. When they don't have a favorite dessert, #real sus.
Come on, dog.
How?
That sounds like something somebody from the
What if I
would say.
didn't like sugar?
He's probably trolling. I'm just going to assume it's a troll, because what?
Okay, we got.
Why
I just did all of that for you, and then you going.
Why do I have to have a favorite dessert? Baby, I like a lot of them.
Yeah, I love ice cream though.
Maybe I don't like sweets at all.
Lava cake though, slaps every time.
It depends on what season, what mood I'm in.
Like,
you know what I'm saying?
Is it a cold dessert? Is it a hot dessert? It could go so many ways.
Why is it suspect? Let me just.
It's okay. She really feeling that one.
I know. I'm feeling like, is that actually a red? I feel like that's one thing. I feel like people will say things that they don't like are red flags, and that's wild to me.
Yeah.
I think a red flag is something that is easily identifiable, and it's something that you can pinpoint in any relationship. I think that we all have preferences. You know,
Yes.
like people say, you know, like, don't make your preference a red flag. I think a red flag for me is inconsistency. That is definitely a red flag, because if you're inconsistent in one way, you are an inconsistent person.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't like that, because especially for me, I need a man to be stable. And so when you start to show inconsistencies, then I'm going to assume that you're a liar, because you can't show up in a consistent way, and I don't need that. When you are inconsiderate, that is a red flag, because it to me means that you don't honor people. So, but not liking dessert,
Yeah,
that has to be a
We got
troll.
any more red flags?
Yeah, we got Antoine from Atlanta, Georgia. Someone who is selfish and only cares about themselves.
Yeah,
That's what selfish means. But yes, absolutely.
So here's another one.
bro, like that.
I'm sorry, Antoine.
This one's actually really interesting. So we have Leanne from Stone Mountain, Georgia, and she said, not feeling supported or encouraged in my passions.
Yeah.
I feel like that's one that slips in that people may not realize. Like, that one could be like a in marriage realization, because I've observed that with his aunties and just different stuff of like not feeling encouraged. And so you have like a wife who's like, oh, I just gave up on my dreams.
Yeah.
That's a big one for me, because I feel like there's a lot of expectations that are placed on women when they're in relationships. And when you have expectations placed on me, but then you don't nurture my gifts and my passions, like you're only pouring toxicity into me.
Yeah.
I have Monica from the Bronx. She said, when they asked me what my zodiac sign is, actually,
that's not a red flag, y'all.
Well, I mean,
That's not a character flaw.
Some things are deep though, because now
No, I feel like
I'm like, I don't support that zodiac stuff no more.
Yeah, I feel like if you practice Christianity and you're going off of those principles, if that's a red flag for you, then that's a red flag for you. There's a lot of Christians who don't believe in astrology and don't succumb to it.
For sure. I'm not someone who like is into astrology or follows the zodiac, but I feel like that's something like, okay, the Enneagram. That I think the Enneagram is very similar. Like Christians will be like, okay, what number are you on the Enneagram? It's the same as somebody asking me what my sign is. To me, it's the same. I'm not writing off a Christian saying, what is your Enneagram number? Even though I don't vibe with either of those much anymore. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But I'm not immediately like, oh, you're a red flag. I just feel like.
Personally, I feel like that's a red flag for her, and I support it.
Well, do you feel like homeboy with the dessert, it's a red flag there?
No, that's a preference.
It's a conversation.
That's how I feel. I feel like that's not a character flaw. I feel like red flags have to be character flaws. If that's a conversation where you're like, hey, are you a believer? Like, why do you believe this way? Let's have a conversation, versus somebody who's inconsiderate. That's not something that changes in a conversation. And I'm not saying that your preferences or belief system about the zodiac or the Enneagram or any of those things are gonna change immediately with the conversation. I just don't think asking what your zodiac sign is a character flaw.
So you don't think someone's character can be defined by their love of astrology?
I think it can be. I think assuming that it is wrong. Do you know what I'm saying? I think assuming that if you ask me what my zodiac sign is, that you have bad character because you follow the zodiac, I think that's erasure. I think that I think that that's a snap judgment based off of a singular question. That's all I'm saying. Because saying somebody's inconsistent requires you to observe their character. Saying somebody's inconsiderate requires you to observe their character. Saying somebody is a red flag because they ask you what your zodiac sign is means that you're writing them off as soon as they make a statement. That's all I'm saying. I just think writing people off before you have an opportunity to observe their character is a quick way to dismiss potentially great humans in your life. But I'm not saying she has to believe the way I do. I just think I think that calling something a red flag should be an observance of character.
She's spitting. Let her cook.
I agree. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I don't agree, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying
Yeah.
I want to add a counterweight to that because I think to me one of my biggest issues with Christians is that Christians are quick to make snap judgments and call it the Bible, or snap judgments and call it integrity or holiness. And it's like, I don't think it's all, a lot of times I don't think it's that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But so we have two more that are actually kind of similar on the red flag category before we move on to green.
Oh, we got green
We
flags
got
too?
some green
I've
too.
literally never heard of a green flag, but okay.
So
Okay, producer Mia.
the next two,
Because
Alexis,
when you're the race and they tell you to keep going, they have a white flag, not a green flag, but it's fine.
Okay, technical NASCAR. Okay, I have a story about that, but that's another time. Okay, so Alexis from Atlanta, Georgia said complaining, and Ashley from Atlanta said negative talk surrounding family members, dad, mom, siblings, and stuff like that.
Where does she draw the line at negative talk? Because again, if I have trauma there and I want to have a safe place to talk about it, like I wonder where the talk is there.
Right.
I mean, where the
I'm
line
like,
is.
Are we not allowed to express how we're feeling about something that a family member has, done, or situations that we've been in with family members? And
Yeah.
like, if that comes off as quote unquote negative to somebody, when, I'm just trying to allow them into my perspective and my point of view from the situation, then how can I feel safe with you moving forward?
Yeah. I guess it just depends on the perspective of if it's from a place of trauma or if it's a place of like ungratefulness.
Yeah.
Of like, you could be like an entitled rich kid and it's like, oh, my dad didn't let me have this. Like, forget him. So
What are some of y'all red flags? Well, E, you kind of already touched on yours because somebody like mentioned
inconsistency, inconsideration. I think maturity isn't a red flag, but a lack of maturity in like, I think I have ways to evaluate, and I think we're all growing in maturity, so I don't want to just sit here and be like, I'm so mature. But I'm in my 30s, so if you step into me, you have to have some maturity. I'm in my 30s, and I'm a serial entrepreneur, so it's like I have to be able to handle and hold a lot of situations. And if you're immature, you're just adding to like weight to my life, and I don't need that. And then I need somebody who's emotionally secure. So if you're like, and again, I'm a very emotional person, and I want my man to be somebody who can handle and hold and have emotions. But if he's emotionally unstable, that's a very big red flag for me. And again, I'm not even talking about on the mental health spectrum, but so one thing for me that's a non-negotiable is the guy that I date has to be in therapy, and the guy that I marry will be in therapy. That's just like non-negotiable for me. It works out when I don't have to explain it. That's just a non-negotiable for me at the place that I am in my life. So part of that emotional stability, like that's not a guarantee, but because emotional stability is so important to me, then, that for me is a non-negotiable. So it's connected to a red flag, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to say, I like that you broke that down because it makes me think about the disagreement of opinions that we just had.
Yeah.
And the whole dessert guy. I feel like we got to start differentiating red flags from oh my gosh, it literally just left my
Preferences?
No, it wasn't going to be preferences.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to just drop it because No, it has something to do with when you said non-negotiable.
Yeah.
It struck that thought for me.
Like the difference between like a red flag and a
non-negotiable, I guess.
There was another word I wanted to use for it, but yeah.
Deal breakers.
Yes, deal breaker. Oh my gosh.
Okay, non-negotiable or a deal.
Yes.
Or a red flag or a deal breaker.
Yes.
I agree.
Yes.
I agree.
Yes.
You got to differentiate between the
Yes.
two. Yeah.
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 Because for me, like a deal breaker would be like hypersexuality, like especially if we're not married. Like, why are you always talking to me about sex? And we just started talking 2 days ago. You know what I'm saying? That's a deal breaker. I'm out the door. Is that a red flag? Probably not, because I'm thinking about like your explanation of like character flaws and everything like that. I've never had red flags broken down to me in that way. And so like as I was thinking about what my red flags are, I was like, I want to say hypersexuality, but I don't feel like that's a red flag necessarily. Maybe it's just a deal breaker.
For me, that is a red flag because it
Okay.
feels like you lack self-control and you either have sexual trauma that you need to deal with, or you have a lust issue that you need to deal with, or so for me, even I get what you're, because I do think that there's deal breakers and red flags, but for me, a hypersexual man is a red flag for me, because it means that he lacks self-control, and I need you to set the tempo for us.
Flaw.
Yeah, I need you to set the tempo for us. If you out here wilding, I'm probably gonna follow suit. I'm gonna be honest. That's why I need a man to like, and I'm not even saying like, it's your fault I sinned. I'm saying like,
but if you want leadership in that way, then that's what
I am doing what I can to protect my purity and following in what I feel like God has called me to in celibacy. And if you are making it more difficult for me, and I already know that that's where an area that I need protected, then you are a red flag, because you're more interested in satisfying your needs than protecting what we're building.
Yeah. Another red flag for me is short tempers. Because
factual.
I'm the kind of person. I'm the kind of person where
narcissist.
I need to contemplate. I need to think. I'm a thinker. You know what I'm saying? And so let's say if we get in a disagreement and you're already rah-rah after 30 seconds of being in a disagreement.
You haven't heard me out.
You haven't heard me. I can't process. There's no way that we're able to communicate right now.
Yeah.
And then it's just going to cause me to get rah-rah, because I'm from Jersey. Don't get it twisted.
Oh, yeah.
I love to, you knew it was going to come. I love to communicate. But if your voice rises, I'm going up with you.
So I'm the opposite. If you yell, I'm leaving. If you get loud, I feel like it's so disrespectful.
It is.
And that's what I talk about, emotional stability, because I feel like for me, the way that I see a lot of men don't know how to express themselves except for in anger.
Yeah.
So their hurt comes out, their fear comes out, it all comes out in anger. So I feel like if you're emotionally unstable and you're not willing to even see like my intention versus like if we're in a relationship and you are assuming that I meant to hurt you, and so now you're trying to come hurt me, it's like, whoa, I didn't mean to say it I thought I said it in a way that you could hear me, but I said it wrong. I'm sorry. But now you're attacking me. I can't. So if you're like this, or if you're quick to get upset and you're always having to go back and apologize, I'm not sticking around for this, because you need to be more choice with your words. You need to be caring for me in the same way that I'm trying to care for you. And like, if I'm not sending missiles at you, if I'm not yelling, like, I'm just not like that. I'm not built like that. I'm not trying to harm you. So if you feel harmed, let's have a conversation about it. I'm quick. Let's hear that. But if you and I know in relationships stuff gets heated because you care about the person the most, but that's for me is a big no, because I grew up with brothers and a father that had quick tempers, and I always felt like I had to guard myself, you know.
I think like my need to, like, if somebody's getting rah-rah with me, I think my need to get defensive and buck up like back at them stems from like the disagreements that I've had growing up with my mom.
Yeah, it's a natural reaction. It's fight or flight. I'm just a flight person. I'd be like, I'm out.
Because she would never let me like,
you'll never see me again.
explain myself and everything like that. And so my way to combat that is to communicate and is to like break things down. And like, that's what I've learned works for me. You know what I'm saying? And like ponder on the thoughts and why am I feeling the way that I'm feeling after we've had this type of disagreement. So if you don't allow me that space to do that, like, that's a red flag for me, bro. You gotta go. Like,
But speaking of red flags, you know, we shared all those.
No, you gotta share a red flag. I need to hear this.
I was trying to move on to the green flag.
No. I want to hear a red flag from you.
Nah, I mean,
I know you're married and in a beautiful, loving relationship. Shout out to Mr. D's, but I need to hear your red flags.
I mean, I feel like y'all already discussed my red flags. I mean, my red flags are pretty much anger issues. So, I mean, I love my life. I think when I look at my house, I mean, Naij has been to my house. It's a quiet home. It's great. So I feel like, if you're just yelling and stuff, I'm just like, I don't enjoy that energy at all. I feel like I haven't even had to raise my, I think, were you there? Yeah, for Pew. There was like a Pew thing. I had to do this thing for Pew where I had to yell. And I think it was either Naij or Portia who was like, I don't think I've ever heard you yell in my life. And it was during his music video thing with all the Holy Girls.
I don't think I heard you yell either.
And so I was like, wow, I don't think I've ever heard you yell in my life. And so, I just really don't like anger issues. It's just irritating. I just don't like that emotion. It's just, and so I just enjoy that being Darius, the way we communicate. Like, it doesn't involve yelling. It's just like.
What happens when y'all argue or have disagreements?
I mean, we just talk about it. I mean, maybe like a slight frustration, but it's never like, like it's never like on some short temper type stuff of like yelling. Yeah.
And he's such a good mediator as a person, because I remember when the whole drone situation happened, it wasn't just the drone, but it was all those things back to back. And it was right when Darius was planning his engagement to you, and he was trying to get me to help him. I was like, I'm out. I'm done. Again, you make me mad. You not even gonna see it, because the thing was, Wande didn't even know how mad I was. Like, nobody knew how mad I was. I was just like, I'm gonna finish what I committed to, and then top of January 1st, she not gonna see me no more. And I remember him being like, Erinn, I know she's making you mad right now, but I think you should consider this. And he was like, she doesn't see herself sometimes, and I know that she doesn't mean this. And he was really like, he wasn't even like taking up for you. He was like, she's probably wrong. Just don't leave. Like, give it a second so you can talk to her and somebody else. I'm like, I already tried to talk to her. She didn't hear me. He was like, she probably needs somebody else to say it to her differently. Like, he's just so patient. So I just assumed y'all didn't argue like that. But even for me, as somebody who, I don't mind confrontation. So I don't want y'all to hear this, that like, oh, Erinn leaves, and I will confront you. I will talk about it. I have no I think confrontation shows you where people are at. So I value confrontation. It's a very high value for me. But we get to the yelling, or if you piss me off enough, I'm not explaining anything. Bye. You got it, beloved. Like, life is too short for me to be angry at you. Like, you're not going to steal my joy. So I'm going to leave. But yeah, that's good to hear. I'm glad.
I'm like that when it comes to like randomness. Like, if I'm like out and like, I don't know. Like, say like somebody starts yelling at me like on the street or something. It's like, all right, I'm not entertaining that. Like, I'm walking away. Right. You know what I'm saying? But
all right, but so let's move on to these green flags.
There's no such thing.
Okay.
There's no such thing as a green flag.
Go ahead and read them.
All right. All right. So we got our girl Christy from Atlanta, Georgia, a good listener. Y'all don't seem impressed.
I
thought you was gonna keep going.
I'm saying it's not that green. I'm just arguing over a red flag is waved when you're supposed to stop. A green flag is not waved when you're supposed to go.
It's bro.
No, but in anything, it's a white flag. But okay.
All right. Praise the Lord. All right. So we got Krista from Dallas, Texas. If I can genuinely trust him.
If what was like, give me the green light.
It's a green light, not a green flag.
It's good to go. No. Which means if I have green flags with this person, that means I'm good to go with them.
Yes. He gave you a green light because green means go on a light. But if the whole term red flag comes from the actual signal that they used to use to stop people. That's all I'm saying. Technically, it's not right, but I get what you're saying.
I don't think it's that deep.
Okay, so we had good listeners, and if you can trust him.
Yeah, good listener is good for me.
I love a good listener because I will get to talking. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, mine is.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Go.
I was gonna say, especially if it's something that's like bothering me.
Yes.
I love a man that can listen.
Yes, but that's a really high value for me. That's what I was telling y'all a few episodes ago when I was in LA with my homeboy Keenan. Like, he was like, "Let's catch up," and then he sat his phone down and looked me in my eye. And in that moment, I was like, oh, this is it. Like, because DeBaron is like that. When I talk to DeBaron, he's focused on me. And the men in my life that make me feel the most loved and cared for are the ones who are like, nothing matters right now except for you. You know what I'm saying? So I really value somebody who not only listens, but is intentional about it.
Yeah. I feel like in order to be a good listener, it requires some sort of intentionality.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I don't even need you to be like, yeah. I just need to know that you're absorbing what I'm saying.
And understanding.
Yeah.
Bob from Nashville, Tennessee. He said communication through problems and hardships.
Yes. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Literally, that's literally what we've just been talking about. Yeah.
We got Leanne from Stone Mountain, Georgia. Okay, Stone Mountain. Has good taste in music when they're interested in my Jamaican culture.
That's a preference, but I agree. I love a good taste in music.
But I feel like green flags can be a preference. They don't have to be a must-have.
Using the flag.
That's why I put it in quotes. I'm saying like a red flag is a must know. A white flag or a green flag isn't a must have. It's what Do you feel like, maybe I don't know, because I've never heard of green flags. I've never even heard of white flags. I've just only heard of red flags. So this is all new to me. Do you feel like a green flag is a must-have?
Not a must-have. A must-have is still a preference. You know what I'm saying? A green flag is just basically a good character quality trait.
That's what I'm saying. Is it a must-have? Because you said it's a preference. That's all I'm saying. I think that's what green flags are, the things that you love, the preferences that you have.
Not necessarily. I mean, because, like, if I'm going to relate it to myself, my man has a lot of green flags, and all of my preferences or all of what I would consider a green flag are not present. You know, maybe like 5 out of 7. Do you know what I'm saying? Type of situation. So, no, I don't.
So, yeah, a green flag is a preference, not a must-have.
No.
You just said he doesn't have all of yours.
Exactly.
So that
he
means,
don't have to have them. So they're not a must-have.
That's what I'm saying. So it's a preference, meaning that you prefer it, but it's not a must-have. That's what I'm asking. Is it a preference or a must-have? A preference means I prefer this, but I don't have to have it. A must-have.
I know what preference means.
Okay. So you said he doesn't have all of your green flags. That means that...
No, he doesn't have all of my preferences.
Maybe it's just things that enhance the relationship, or like.
So I'm saying, does he have all of your green flags?
I suppose. I don't really feel like I have like a certain list of green flags.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
As a person,
I'm saying that green flags are just kind of like, oh, these are things that I like.
These are things that come with that person that shows that they have good character.
Yeah. Okay. I like that descriptor.
Okay.
Of like,
because I don't know. I've never heard of green flags.
Things that you notice, and whenever you notice them about that person, it's like, oh, these are quality things that are keeping me here.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I get that. I just didn't know. Okay. That's dope. Like qualities that you notice in a person that you're like, this is why I'm here in this relationship.
Yeah. All right. People tell you to make those things, you know, if a person's like about to break up and they're like, okay, make a little T chart.
Yes.
What's good, what's bad?
Like I would say a few of my green flags are somebody who can listen, someone who is intentional, and someone like if they have intentionality and if they have if they're supportive. So those are a few of my green flags. But my man has additional green flags. You know what I'm saying? Or, you know, like he has those, but he has other green flags about him. Yeah. It's not like those are like the quote unquote end all be all per se. Mm-hmm. Like they're a requirement for me, you know, but it's not like that's just it.
Yeah.
You know?
I would say how this person talked about music though. I do enjoy like having a similar taste in music as Darius, so it's good. We can listen to music out loud together. One of our first dates, we went to a concert together, and so stuff like that is useful because y'all can relate. Because I think music relates to you on a deeper level.
Yes.
So if y'all don't vibe on the same music, it's kind of like. Oof.
I have a non-negotiable. If your music taste is trash, we cannot be one.
See, my thing is like Erinn and I, we both have great music taste.
Yeah.
But we both, like for example, he wasn't raised on R&B and hip hop like I was.
It doesn't have to be the same. It just has to be good.
Yes,
that's how I am. Good. It could be different, but it's got to be good.
That's a preference.
For me, it's not.
For you, it's not. That's fine.
It's not. If you do not have good music taste, or like I knew this guy one time who's like, I mean, I like music, but I'd be fine without it. And I was like, huh? Like, no, because that means when we're in the house and I need to change my mood and I'm changing the song and you turning it down, I'm gonna fight you. Like no. Or people who like don't get why I'm listening to the same. So it's a deal breaker,
not a green flag.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's a non-negotiable deal breaker. All the things. If you do not have good music taste, we cannot be one. It's not gonna work. It's not going to work. I need you to understand why I'm crying right now. It's because this song is so good.
Oh, that's true. Good music will make you do that. All right. We got old boy John from Seattle, Washington. I think John really thought about this.
Okay.
They said if she has grace, understanding, pays. I don't know about that. Pays attention.
Oh.
I'm like,
well, it says pays, then it says attention to details. So they could have meant pays. So I'm like, I don't know about that.
I'm pretty sure it might be like
caring and loves towards their friends and family. They just describing a good girl. So.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Honestly, that kind of sounds like a majority of the fruits of the spirit. So, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to him for recognizing God's Hesed and wanting that in their partner.
All All right. And then this is the last one. We got John from Atlanta. You know, shout out to our Atlanta fan base.
ATL.
Having the ability to problem solve when ish hits the fan.
Yeah,
That is
problem
a
solving.
big one. So that for me is like, that's a red flag. A man who can't solve problems. And I'm not asking you to be God. But if I'm a problem solver for a living, and if we have a problem together or I'm coming to you with a problem, I need you to jump into problem solver mode. I don't need you to be like, I don't know.
I actually have a slightly different perspective, and here's why. My boyfriend is an extremely solution-based man, and sometimes I find myself in scenarios where I don't need a solution all
get
the time.
that.
I don't need a problem solved. And so for him, that's his default. You know what I'm saying? That's him as a man.
I think a lot of
That's
men
him.
are like that.
Okay, that's it. Well, not men that I have met before.
So
but
I'm not saying that everything, because I think that is learning me. I'm like that. I'm like, I just want to vent right now.
But for him to have that quality,
Yes, he has to have that quality.
For sure,
But
for
but that's just learning
that's
me and
good.
where I'm at. Like sometimes I don't need a solution. I just want you to hear me out. But for me, when I need a solution, like DeBaron, again, he is a problem solver. If there's a problem to be solved, he's solving it. Brandon, if there's a problem to be solved, he's solving it. So I'm so used to the sturdy men in my life being problem solvers. When I get around men who are like, I don't know. I'm like, sir, I don't feel secure here. So that's a good one. I think as a woman too, I think the reason that I function with men who are problem solvers is because I also am a problem solver. And so they are like, oh, well, when there's a problem that I can solve, they bring it to me. And when there's a problem they can solve, I think that needs to be a mutual exchange in a relationship.
Absolutely. Yeah. We actually practice that often. You know, like there's not a time or problem that goes by where we don't communicate about it. Most of the time, you know, if it's something that deals directly with him, like he might have to find a fill-in to play bass for him at a church or something like that. Unfortunately, that's a problem he has to solve on his own because I don't know bass players, you know, but I have helped and stepped in before.
Right. I've been on the phone when you was like trying to get him. You're like, he's on a cruise.
Oh, yeah, when we went to dinner with,
he's out the country, so can you be there at this time?
For sure. But I appreciate you for elaborating on that, and because that expanded my mind a little bit now. So, because it's so easy for me to retreat and be like upset if I just want him to listen and he's trying to give me solutions.
Yeah, no, I get that. I'm the same. I still don't like that, but imagine if he was never solving problems.
Exactly.
If he was like, oh,
and like,
that's
terrible.
something
that
you'd be like, sorry.
I could very well have been taking that for granted if we would have never had this conversation. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm like, thank you for elaborating on that. Yeah. For real.
So I actually have a question for y'all. So if you have someone who has all these green flags, when do you think is the time to differentiate if you see a red flag pop up that, oh, let's work on this versus like, oh, we got to end this?
So that's why I feel like red flags are more of character flaws and not situations or momentary things. You know what I'm saying? I feel like if
you can work through those.
Yeah, if I'm consistently seeing you respond with this bad character, or this is your default when you're stressed, or this is your default when you feel like you're in a pinch, that's when the red flag is. Or even not in a pinch. I've seen red flags in guys when I first started dating them. Like that guy I told y'all about today. But no, a lot of those were preferences, but one of the red flags for me that made it easy for me to be like, you don't match my preferences, but this is a red flag, was how inconsistent he was. He would be like, I'm gonna text you tomorrow and we'll go out on Thursday. And then Friday he would hit me and be like, da 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 da. And I'd be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna let that rock. It's just one thing. But then he'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna go here this weekend. And then on Monday he'd be like, yeah, I did da 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 da. And I'm like, okay, so you didn't call me on the day you said you'd call me. You told me you was going out of town this weekend, but you ended up, and it's just small stuff. That's a red flag to me because it's like every time I was talking to you, you're inconsistent. Yeah. So I think the way that you observe red flags is by not just saying I don't prefer this or you did one thing wrong. It's that your character consistently aligns with you defaulting to this thing. Like you tend to be selfish. You tend to not have integrity. You tend to not be generous. Like these are things that I feel like are your tendencies, your character are red flags to me.
Yeah, I definitely think that was like some good wisdom from my girl E.
Thank you.
And so definitely for all of our listeners out there, if you're observing the red flags, those character flaws, don't ignore them, address them. If they ain't gonna change, it might be time to leave.
Facts.
But always
And be honest with yourself.
Oh yeah.
Don't
Be
date
honest
potential.
with yourself.
Yeah.
Do not let somebody manipulate you.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because they're trying to gaslight you into thinking that they're this kind of person and they're really not. Be honest with yourself. Be truthful with yourself and recognize when certain things are happening to you.
Yeah.
And address it.
You're worth more.
Yeah.
You're worth more. Love y'all. Like, comment, subscribe.
So that's it for today's episode of the Winner Circle podcast. We love y'all. We're rooting for y'all.
Yes,
we want
sir.
y'all to have some amazing relationships, y'all. But make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.
Share.
Yes, share, all of that. So signing off from the Winner Circle.
Yeah.
Bye, y'all.
I'm dipping, oh,